All right, so I think it's time to move forward with Juno tips and tricks, more about menus. Am I correct? We can go on and introduce our speakers now.
Yes.
All right, So coming to us from Louisville, Kentucky, Justine Taylor, who is a low vision product manager with APH. Glad she can be with us today. Thank you, Justine. And then coming to us from Springfield, Ohio, originally hailing from the great state of Massachusetts, Mike Wood, who is the strategic accounts manager with Vispero. So Michael, thank you for joining us. And let's move on now to our learning objectives today. So what do we hope the participants will? So let's review. So we want the participants to explore button locations and functions. We want the participants to become oriented to the features by navigating through the menu screens. And then finally, we want the participants to learn key settings in the button bar menus, main menu, reading settings, menu settings, user settings, and review system settings. It's a lot of settings, guys. It's a lot of settings. I'm just saying. All right. And I believe I am about to hand this off to Mr. Wood. Mr. Wood, would you like to take it from here?
Sure thing, Jim. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. So for those of you that are familiar with the Juno and have used it, you definitely know what these buttons do. For those of you that do not, we have an image on the screen right now of the Juno on the left-hand side of this slide. The Juno is a gray, kind of a darker gray product with a couple different colored buttons on it. So it has blue buttons on the left-hand side, and those are going to control your contrast and color modes. On the right-hand side from the top down, you have the camera button, plus and minus, which are yellow buttons. The camera buttons are reddish color. So I'm going to really start at the very, very top where you have the camera. So we've got these numbered on this slide or on this image. And number one is the camera. Something that is different in the Juno is that it has a rotating camera for multi-purpose views. So you can do self-facing, you can do a little bit of distance, you can do a writing mode, and you would do desktop reading mode. On the top left-hand side, you start out with number 2 button is your power button. So a short press of this will power on or put it into standby mode. And sometimes people get confused with this. If you press and hold it for a longer press, that's when you power down. You'll hear the Juno make some chiming noises, and that's when you know, okay, I've powered it down. If you just do a quick press of the button, it just goes into standby mode or sleep mode. Buttons 3 and 4, below that, there's an up arrow and a down arrow. Button 3 and 4 move up or down through your different color modes. So those are your color contrast modes. On the right-hand side at the top, the camera button, number 5, is capture. The capture button allows you to press and capture an image, or if you're in a frozen image, you can press it again and that will bring you back to your live image view. Buttons 6 and 7 below that are your plus and minus. Those are pretty self-explanatory as far as plus is going to increase your zoom or magnification, and minus will decrease your magnification or, zoom out. And then labeled number 8 is the LCD screen. And the reason that that screen is highlighted is the fact that it's a touch screen. So you can actually pinch and zoom to zoom in or out just like you would on any other smart tablet. And you're gonna, as you'll learn, we'll go through some of the settings later. As Jim mentioned, there's many, many, many settings. And you're gonna learn about how you would select those settings by touching the screen to select those. So the nice thing is that you've got these tactile buttons around the edges that make it easy to use if you're just using it for basic magnification and contrast changes. But if you want to up the ante and take it a couple steps further, you can really manipulate and change things by activating and using the touchscreen, which we'll go into more here shortly.
And Mike, before we move on, I just want to jump in and
sure, please,
and say that the buttons are actually spoken aloud when you press the buttons. I'm not sure if I hold my device up or if you can hear it, but if you press the button,
change color theme to white or black.
I don't know if you can hear that.
Say change color scheme to white or black. Yeah.
So we can't hear that.
You can.
Yes.
Okay.
Change color theme to white on black.
So when you just press it once, it just speaks the button.
Change color theme to black on light blue.
So like Mike said, these buttons on the side here on the left are the color contrast options, and it will cycle through and read out loud which color theme that you're on. And then if you press it again, that will actually activate and change it to that color scheme.
Change color theme to black on light blue.
So if I press that again, it's actually changed that color scheme to that option.
Change color theme to
Now, Justine, that's an option on that, right? To turn that on or off. So if you wanted to use that feature, which personally I find that when you're first playing around with the Juno, I think it's really helpful to have that on. And depending on who you're working with, depending on if it's a student, a senior, whoever the individual is, that's something that you can turn on. And it's a great feature because if you forget what a button does, you just press it and the product tells you what it does, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure everyone knows that. So when you're pressing the buttons and you're like, oh, it's not doing it, you have to press it again to make sure it activates it. But if you're just pressing the button to learn, the orientation or what the button does or what button you're on, it will just speak the button function and then you press it again to activate that. So
thank you for showing that, because I think that's a super powerful feature within the Juno.
yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah. And I find the same for like the touchscreen, which you'll show later. They might not be able to hear just because the setup, but I think that also knowing that that touchscreen button, just because there's no text on them, but they're visuals, and by being able to touch it and then hear what it does, just makes it that much easier for you.
Yep.
So if you want to hit to the next slide, please, Betsy Ann. Oh, we've got a poll.
Yeah, so it looks like I'm up.
You're up,
So
Jim.
Betsy Ann is going to post that question for us, and I will read it aloud. So true or false, the device buttons are spoken aloud? Option true or option false?
This is where we find out who is sleeping on the job or not.
And we've dropped the link in the chat on where our handouts are. At that site, you'll be able to find not only today's PowerPoint, but also a new skills checklist for Juno. Really exciting stuff that Justine's been working on. It's very similar to our skills checklist for the Mac Connect. If you've used that, step-by-step way for you to engage your students and check off their proficiency as they learn more about the Juno.
Yeah, Justine, you did a great job on that. I think it's phenomenal because you can use that just to assess, what the student knows on it. I think it's great for IEPs. That's a really nice checklist.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a great way to monitor the student's progress, and you can go on the Juno product page on our website and download it, and you can add in your own notes and the dates of when the student has, mastered that skill and whatnot. So yeah, it's available now. So it's exciting to have that.
And we'll take a look at our poll here. So of the 12 individuals who responded, all of them said true. Justine, is that the correct answer?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're all listening. That's
Everybody's
good.
on it.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Okay, and I'm going to move on with our slide, and we're going to get Justine's Juno featured. And so just give us one moment while we make sure we have our video set the way we need it to. You'll see a toggle appear on your screen. It'll be on the right-hand side of the screen for most of you. You're going to grab that toggle and pull it to the middle. That will help both of those videos appear the same size. So if you have any more questions about that, feel free to drop in the chat and we'll see if we can help you. All right, Mike, is it looking good to you?
Looks good. So Justine, if you just want to jump to a live view, like you have text underneath there. So if you were magnifying something, perfect. So right now you'll see on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see Justine's view, which is if you were looking at the Juno. And on the left-hand side, you're going to see our PowerPoint slide still. So I just wanted to chat a little bit about the button bar menu. So right now you'll notice on that Juno screen, down in the bottom left-hand side, there's 2 arrows in a small box pointing to the right. So that is going to give you your main menu button. Well, if you press that, actually, if Justine, if you want to hit that button, that then will pull up the button bar menu. And you have your main menu button on the top left corner of the screen. And that's with those 3 lines. Your volume and speech rate button on the middle left of the screen. So if you were to tap that, it'll then give you sliders to control how loud or fast the Juno speaks. And so now Justine's showing you increasing the volume on the left-hand side, and then the right-hand slider controls how fast. So it's the rabbit or the hare. Excuse me, that would be the same. The rabbit or the hare, the turtle or the hare, the tortoise and the hare, whatever it is, the book. So you can go really slow or you can speak really, really fast. And it's nice because you can customize that, of course. The button below that on the left is the restore bar button. So by clicking that, now those arrows are facing to the left. And by tapping those, that's going to just bring you out of your menu option altogether and bring you back to your live view where you're magnifying. So Justine's showing there again, there you go. And so that's bringing us back to our live magnification view. And if we were to tap that button again, and that is going to bring us to the main menus. And on the top right-hand side is the lights on or off button. And that's going to toggle the lights on or off. So you'll notice now when she shut the lights off, the screen went blank. And that's because you need light to illuminate what's below the screen, below the camera. And this is going to, it's nice to have this option because if you have some text that maybe you're in a really, really bright room and you don't need the built-in lights, or you're doing something where you don't need them, you can toggle that light on or off. That's the top right-hand button. The middle button on that side is your line and masking button. So you're going to tap that to display a reading line. And the cool thing with this is that you can actually move that reading line up or down by dragging one finger on the screen. This is phenomenal for tracking purposes. So just as Justine's showing it right now, you have a bunch of lines of text on that Juno screen, and you're able to move that line up or down to underline any line of text. And now if you were to move to the right or the left, if Justine's going to move that text, just think about if you're reading a book or you're reading a handout from your teacher or whatever you're reading, this just keeps you in line and in track of, what line you're reading from. And I think it's really, really helpful. That's awesome, Justine. So that gives you your guideline or your masking. So now when you do a second press, now you turned on the masking feature. What the masking does is a little bit different. Instead of giving you just that guideline, this is actually masking out all of the stuff on the screen except for the line of text that you want. So you can increase or decrease the size of that masking area. And you can also move it as Justine is doing right now. She's increasing it. And she was also moving it around on the screen. So she's moving it up and down. So you can decide how much text do you want the individual to see that's using this, or if you're the user using this device, how much do I want? I find this feature phenomenal for visual clutter issues. Also, if your student has multiple disabilities, so maybe they're low vision, but they also have some reading issues, they're struggling with. This is really good because it kind of keys them in right on the text that they need to be seeing and just cuts out a lot of that other visual clutter. It's also great for eye fatigue. I find that if you've got a lot of text on the screen and a lot of brightness, sometimes it might be irritating to the eye. So this helps you by cutting out some of that stuff. So that is the middle button on the right-hand side. And again, that's going to toggle you between your line, your guideline, and your masking feature. And if you press it again, it just brings you back to your live view. So again, there's nothing really that you can mess up in this, I feel like. That's the thing I find some students or individuals using it are fearful of, like, well, what if I press this? Am I going to break it? Nothing's going to be broken. It's usually just going to cycle you through, or it's going to toggle something on or off. So if you don't like what you see, press the button again, and chances are it's going to bring you right back to where you were before. On the bottom right-hand side, the last but not least button is the locking focus button. So that's going to lock focus on. This is going to be used when you're writing or doing a hobby type of setup where you want the camera to lock its focus on a specific depth. So think of writing underneath the Juno. If you were writing, you want this to be focused on the text that's on the page, so maybe the tip of the pen and the line, on the page where you're writing, as opposed to your hand. So this focus lock will lock that in to wherever you have chosen for it to be focused on. So that's really nice. Whereas maybe if you were writing and you did not have focus lock turned on, the camera is going to try to decipher, where should I be focusing? Do I want to focus on the pen? Do I want to focus on their hand? What am I looking at? And that focus lock is really nice to just lock that in to where you need to be. So those are, I should say. And if you switch over, Justine, to a different contrast, actually, switch over to like live color, maybe. That pen will show nice, I think. Because we're in high contrast mode right now. So switch over to maybe a true color mode. There you go. Yeah, you're switching over. Yeah. That looks good in the orange, actually, but keep going. There you go. So now you can see that you've got the tip of the pen on the paper. And by turning focus lock on, that's focusing and keeping the focus on the pen, the tip of the pen, instead of maybe focusing on Justine's finger or anything else on the page. So that's a nice feature to have. That's awesome. So those are the menu bars that you get when you first click those two little arrows on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. And Justine doesn't have the audio on, but as she showed with the buttons that were on the device itself, the same thing happens here. If you press one of those buttons once, it's going to tell you auditorily what that button does, but if you press it twice, it activates that button. So next slide, please.
And we are on a poll question. So Jim, you got us for this poll question?
I absolutely do. So how do you open and close the button bar menu? Rotating the camera, tapping the top of the screen, pressing and holding the zoom in button, double tapping the restore/hide button in the bottom left corner of the screen. So I see that we've got some responses that are coming in. At this moment in time, we'll give folks a little bit of time to be able to respond. And I guess I'll ask the question, are there any questions from the audience in the chat?
I haven't seen any, but I did want to be able to share this link. This is the second video in a multi-part series on the Juno called Juno Tips and Tricks. The first video was titled Unboxing, in which we unboxed the Juno and went through all of the component parts that come when you purchase the Juno. And get it set up out of the box. So be sure to check that out on our YouTube page and join us every other month for another installment of Juno Tips and Tricks. As always, these videos are going to appear on our archived YouTube page. So you can always check there first to see if some new content has been added. And any questions, feel free to place in the chat.
I like that we're doing the, breaking this down into little bite-sized pieces of the Juno, just because it is such a powerful product. And going through the unboxing, it's funny, so many people asked us, about the unbox or wanted the unboxing video, and then just showing how to set it up and customize it for a student was nice.
Plus, kids these days, they love a good unboxing video.
That is true. Those are popular.
All right, so let's take a look at our poll. Oh, sorry, Jim.
I was going to say we have 9 responses from our 28 participants. So I guess we can move forward at this particular point in time. Go ahead, Betsy.
So for the question, how do you open and close the button bar menu? You had 4 options for response. 11% chose pressing and holding the zoom in button. 22% chose tapping the top of the screen, and 67% chose double tapping the restore/hide button in the bottom left corner of the screen. Mike, what was the correct response?
So the correct response is double tapping the restore and hide button in the bottom left corner of the screen. So it's the two arrows that are facing out to the right. And then if you double tap them, once the menus are up, they're facing it switches to facing to the left, and that basically takes them off the screen.
Great.
So 6 out of the 9 got it correct, and you get a gold star. The rest, I'm not sure what you're going to get yet. You better redeem yourselves on the next poll question.
It's gonna be coal in their stocking.
Yes. Which with the price of gas right now, you might need to be lighting for your heating coming this winter. All right. So the next slide we have here is the main menu. So if Justine, if you're going to click on that, the two arrows, so the buttons to pull out the menu, and then you're going to click on the top left-hand button to open up the main menu. So that is the 3 little lines. The top left button opens up the main menu. On the main menu, you have File Manager, which is the top left. You have About This Device, which is the I on the top right. You have Change Screen Brightness on the top, the bottom left. And then you have the Settings on the bottom right. So you have 4 options here, with the 5th being the arrow returning you back to your previous menu. But otherwise, you've got the File Manager, About This Device, Change Screen Brightness, and Settings. So Justine just clicked on the File Manager button. So what does that do for us? The cool thing with the Juno is you have storage in here to save multiple files, and you can save PDF files, you can save text files. If you take a scanned image or you take a snapshot of something with the Juno, you can store that as an image file in here. And of course, don't forget the Juno does offer OCR capability, so it can scan and read information that you scan into it. So scan, and then it's going to do the OCR for you. So here is basically your file folder of all the documents you've saved, or maybe your teacher gave you a thumb drive and you imported something in here. This is where you're going to find it, in the File Manager section. And so you'll notice here also, Justine, let's go in there for a second. I think this is another cool feature, and I'm going off like totally off topic here, but click on that File Manager again. I wanted to point out, for those of you that can see the screen, so there's little icons showing like a VCB file, a PDF file, an image file, and below them, some of them is scrolling text. So the PDF file, for example, is the hungry caterpillar, and it's showing the hungry, and then it's scrolling and it's showing caterpillar. The reason that's doing that is because the size of the font that we have chosen. Justine can actually press while you're in this menu. Justine, go ahead and press the minus button. So the decrease magnification, those are the buttons on the far right-hand side of the Juno, and those are actual tactile buttons. What you'll notice is the text is getting smaller on the screen. The word files up on the top on the big bar, that's changing as well. And now, Justine, just for the heck, press the plus a little and increase these things. Let's see how big they get, just a little bit. So you'll notice the file word is increasing, and you'll notice the text of what those documents are is increasing. That's why it's scrolling, kind of like a stock, ticker tape type of thing. So you can customize the size, not only of the text you're magnifying, but of the things you're viewing in the file menu. Another cool feature is if Justine were to press one of those blue buttons on the left-hand side, which were your contrast buttons we went over earlier, those actually change the color of the menu. So right now we have kind of a yellow with black font. Now she pressed that. Now we have white with a black font. And if you press it again, it'll change to a different color. So now we have black background with yellow text on it. So you can customize the colors of the menu as well, which is really nice. So pick one that you like, Justine, that works for you, and then we'll go into the next option there, which will be the About This Device. Sorry, I'm making you scroll through all of them, Justine. And so now we're back at the main menu, and your option on the top right is about this device. So Justine will press that I, and that's going to give us our app version, our OCR version, and text to speech version. So that's basically giving us the version of the software that's on this device. It's also giving us the serial number of the device. So if you're ever asked what the serial number is, this is the easiest spot to find it. And really cool feature, and I should say, the app version and the OCR version, if we do any updates, those are going to be posted on the APH website under the Juno area. So you could then download the updates and import them in Juno. So this is a spot to know if you call into technical support for any issues and they say, version are you running? This is where you'll find that. Another cool thing that I think is really great that APH asked for us to do was on the bottom, you'll notice that there's 3 little selectable menus. One says support, one says the manual. And if you click support, what do you get? You get the phone support number. So go ahead again, Justine, and click support. Yeah. And so this does phone support, or you can email support. So you can call or email. And there's 2 buttons that basically export out if there was ever an issue that you could export out information about what's going on, then technical support could then look at. So that is your support menu. The middle button is the manual. So go ahead and press that one. I think this is really neat too. This does come with a manual and a small user guide, but what if you aren't, you lost it? You've got the actual and complete manual built into the Juno itself. It's stored right inside it, and it can be read out loud to you if you want it to be. And you can just go through and view the entire manual of the Juno. And you can choose, so Justine's showing right now where you can pick and choose the pages. So there's 114 pages to this manual. You can pick a specific page and then go directly to it by just scrolling up the screen, and whatever number is in that yellow box, that's the page number that we're going to go to, and we then click the arrow to the right. If we want this to us, we can click the play button down the bottom middle. And this is going to highlight and read it out loud to us. So it's highlighting the word as it's reading it. And again, we can't hear this, but take my word for it, please. It is reading. And again, you could change if you wanted to change the volume of the speech and all that stuff as well. And then on the bottom right-hand side, it's going to just tell you about the different products that this is using that have a third-party license to them. So for example, maybe the speech engine, that's a third party, that's not developed by us specifically, but it's incorporated into the Juno, but it's not our specific license. So that just lets you know that. We're back at the main menu. And if we wanted to return, we would click on the bottom left-hand side. And then that would bring us back. So Justine right now is showing how you can set your brightness as well. This is nice because depending on the material that you're reading, it might be a dull textbook, not dull as far as the reading quality, dull as far as the brightness of it. So you can increase the brightness of the screen, which helps increase the brightness, of what you're seeing basically. And that is on the bottom left from the main menu. That's going to change your brightness. On the bottom right-hand side of the main menu is your settings button. So now when you get into settings, this is where you get a lot of other options. And I believe, if I remember correctly, we have a slide for this coming up that will go more into the settings. So let's hit the next slide, please. And this is our settings options. So from the settings screen, you now have 4 more options that you can choose from. You have in the top left, reading settings. On the top right, you have menu settings. On the bottom left, you have user settings. And bottom right, you have system settings. So let's click on the reading settings, which is the top left button. So now here you have two options that you can choose from. And just for the fun of it, just Betsy, and if you don't mind, could you jump to the next slide? Because that goes into the reading settings, and then we'll bounce back to this one when we go back to it. So the reading settings, you have two options here. You can view modes set, you can view the modes and set the default view. So when you're reading text that's scanned in, you can view it as a teleprompter mode, a ticker tape mode, or an image mode. The image mode is going to be the exact view the way that you saw it from the original scan. So let's pretend we're looking at a cookbook. Cookbook's going to have great pictures of the food that we're going to be cooking, and hopefully our food looks like that when we're done. And then you're going to have all the text. You're going to have the measurements of what you need, and then you're going to have the text below with the instructions on what to mix and where to mix it and at what stage. Well, the image mode will be the exact view of that page in the cookbook. The ticker tape mode, and here's perfect, this gives you some samples. So this is one viewer mode of text. Let's switch over to the next one. So this is the ticker tape. And the next one will be the exact view. So this is exact view. So you see it exactly as it would show up in the book, or you can view it as a ticker tape or a teleprompter view. So depending on what you want to do, that's up to you. And it might depend on what you're reading as well. And don't forget, you can change all of the settings in here if you want to change the size of that font, the colorations, and all that good stuff. But that's your viewing modes. Another option you have in here is highlighting. Do you want to have an underline of the word, or do you want to have a box around the word? So right now on the screen, Justine's showing you a box around the word. Now she's showing you a line below the word. So this depends on the user again. When you're having material read back to you, how do you want to view it? Do you want it to have just an underline, or do you want to have it have a box around it? Totally up to you. The next thing you have is the reading language, where you choose the language for reading. And this is where you're going to select the reading language. The Juno comes with a couple different languages built in. It's English, German, French, and I always forget, is that Mandarin, or I can't remember the language for that one. But you've got...
It's Mandarin, Chinese.
I thought it was Mandarin. Yep. Thank you, Justine. So you've got Mandarin, you've got German, English, Spanish, and French. So that is your reading language. You can also select the voice. So now, if you wanted to select the voice, do you want a male voice? Do you want a female voice? And do you want them to have a British accent, an Australian accent? And you can pick and choose. And you're just basically going to scroll through all of them that are built into the Juno. And then you would click the arrow to select that one that you want, that you like. So that's the settings. Can we go back one slide, Betsy Ann? Perfect, thank you. So this is the settings. So we did the reading settings. The next option is your menu settings. And that's on the top right-hand side as well. So this is where, and if you want to choose that one, Justine, the menu settings, top right. This is, earlier we were turning on the talking menus or having them off. This is phenomenal. This is where you're going to turn on that talking menu so that if you press the button once, it then reads to you what it does. This is great for the learning, curve of this product. So if you've got a student that you're working with, you want them to try out the Juno, I highly recommend turning on the talking menus for them. And that's just a toggle between on and off. And within there, you also have your different contrasts. You can choose the text size. You can select the Juno voice. So you can also select what voice it's going to use to read you the menus, or you can choose what voice it's going to use to read you the material that you've scanned in. So you can really customize this product, which is nice. And I feel like we have, yeah, we have full slide on this too. So in the menu settings here, you've got the spoken menu option, which we showed you. You've got the device voice, which we just showed you. And then you have the color themes. So what do you want as far as a color theme of the material that you just, are reading or scanned in? So you can go through the different color schemes and choose black on yellow, yellow on black, green on black. There's lots of different options. The nice thing with this is earlier when we were showing you those blue buttons that you toggled through that are the tactile buttons on the front of the Juno, these are the options that this will toggle through. So if you're working with a student or an individual and you don't want to give them that many options for when they press those blue buttons, just come into this color theme. And Justine, if you just want to uncheck, say, one of these or check one of them off, all you have to do is double tap on that, and then you'll know a little box is checked off. And now red on black will be added to your options when you're toggling through using those blue buttons. So it's really nice. There's a lot of different options in here. And again, you can have as many as you want or as few as you want. So that's a really nice option. And then the other thing you have is font size. Bottom right-hand side, that's going to give you your font size. So the font size is going to be your menu font. Now, don't forget, you can change this by pressing the plus or the minus as well when you're inside the menu. But it's nice because this is just going to be a scroll through and pick and choose. And you'll notice they're up to 72 size font. So you'll notice how large font size is there. And you can go all the way down to 24. So 24 to 76 are those numbers. And that's going to change your font size. And then if you choose one that you like, just hit the back arrow and it's going to toggle you out of there. That brings you back to your menu settings. Pressing that arrow again brings you back to your settings menu. And so where are we from there? We just did the reading settings, we did the menu settings. Let's go to the user settings. The user settings is the bottom left-hand side, and that is the silhouette of an individual. So in your user settings, so Betsy Ann, if you could just jump over to the slide for user settings. And that should be slide, I think, 15 maybe. Awesome. Go. Yep, perfect. So in here, you've got your color modes. So the paintbrush one, that is going to be your color modes. And again, there's another way to choose those colors that we talked about. So if you wanted to change yellow on blue, blue on yellow, black on green, these are those color mode options. And which we just went over a little while ago as well. To get back, you click the arrow on the bottom left. The next option is your standby time mode. This is really important because I have had some people call and question, oh, my Juno is shutting off by itself. This is where you're going to set this option up under the standby time. So go into standby, you can choose none. So do you want it to go into standby mode after 30 minutes, after 20 minutes, after 15, 1 minute, you name it, or none at all? And what are all the options? So it's none being, the most time, all the way down to 1 minute being the shortest amount of time. So that's nice. And then on the far right-hand side is your storage manager. So that's a little box image. And this gives you your device storage, how much space you have available. And this is also the spot where if you were giving this from one student to another, you could come in here and delete all the files that the prior student or individual had on there. And to go back, you click the bottom left-hand side, the arrow, which is just the back arrow. And again, now we're back at the settings menu. From the settings menu, on the bottom right-hand side, last but not least, is our system settings options. And if you could just go to that slide for me. Let's see. I think, yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Betsy Ann. So our system settings, you've got a couple things here. On the top left-hand side, you have where you're going to set the time and date. So if you press on that, that gives you where you can choose or customize the time and date. And then take it back, hit the bottom left-hand side. On the top right-hand side, you have your default save type. So when you click on that, it gives you, how do you want to save it? Do you want to save it as an image or a text file? So you can choose what the default save type file is going to be. So your image file, you can have it save as a JPEG, a BMP, a PNG, a WBP, you name it. So you've got a couple of different options there. So those are going to be the file you're saving. So if you're taking a picture of something, that will be the format that's saved in. And this is important for if you're transferring anything from the Juno out to something. Many people might be familiar with JPEG files, and depending on what you're going to do. And then on the right-hand side is your default type text. So how are you going to save text? Save it as a document file, a PDF, RTF, TXT, a VCB, a docx. So again, this is going to depend on if you're taking the files from the Juno and bringing them to your PC. This is where you're going to choose what the default save is for text files. So then to get out of this, you click on that bottom left-hand side, the arrow to return you back. And then that brings back to your system settings. And on system settings, let's see, give me 2 seconds here. So on your system settings, you then have on the bottom left, you have the update the Juno button. And so if you're going to click on that, you'll notice it says insert the USB drive. So on the side of the Juno, there is actually a USB-C port. You can purchase a USB-C to USB thumb drive. And I find that's the easiest way to do this, or it does come with a cord. And using the cord, you can plug the USB-C part of the cord into the Juno. And then the other end of the cord is just a USB. Plug that into your PC. And if there's an update available, you would go to the APH website, go to the Juno page, and then notify you of an update there. And you could download the software update and then install it. And when you come in here to the system settings and you click on that update Juno on the bottom left, it automatically looks for that thumb drive or that cord being plugged in, and then we'll pull the information from that to update the product. So the nice thing is if we all of a sudden find, something neat that we're adding in, we can easily, quickly update and add those features. Last but not least, on the system settings page, on the bottom right-hand side is the reset to defaults button. This is where, again, if you were giving this to a new student or maybe a student graduated and you're now, giving this to somebody else, or you're working with somebody and they're gifting this to somebody else, whatever it may be. If you ever want to reset settings to default, this is where you would do so. Reset settings, you have an option no or yes. Click that if you wanted to. We're going to click no, and it brings us right back to our system settings page. So that covers us from system settings. So just to recap there, from that page, you've got a couple different options available there. And you've got your main menu, the file manager, the about this device, change screen brightness and settings. And now we're back to our live view. And Betsy, if you want to switch to the next slide. And so we did cover this on how to use those system settings. We covered time and date, where you're going to set that. And then if the battery is fully discharged, so if you had this sitting somewhere and it wasn't being used for a long time and the battery totally died out on you, you would then need to go in here to reset the time and date. We talked about the default save types. We also talked about updating the Juno, and we talked about resetting back to defaults. So those are your options there. What is the next slide, please? I think, is there a poll
It's our
coming up
ending
here?
polls, yeah.
Oh, that's the ending poll. All right, let's see if there's any questions before we go on. Any questions in the chat? Comments? I'd love to hear from some of the people that are using the Juno. I'd love to know what features you've really liked, what features you'd like to see maybe added in the future, what features the students are loving. So feel free to drop that in the chat. If there's any of these menus that you want us to go back through, let us know. We're happy to go back through. Justine's being a wonderful demo Vanna White over there, showing
Thank
the
you.
Juno as I read things.
Do we want to jump back to, I think we skipped some of the slides that had some poll questions that might get people
Oh, because I
trying
did
out the
jump
different-
through.
trying the different settings, and we can go over that.
Let
a
me
little.
head back to where we left off.
I appreciate that. That was my fault. Just
Here we
because I
go.
wanted the visual on
We
the
just
screen.
went, yeah, you did great. We just went straight through, just, systematically through all the different menus, which is, how we want to show all the navigating through. So it's pretty intuitive as you go through it. And like Mike was saying, I don't think you can hear it through my computer speakers, but when you tap on these icons, they read out loud what they are. So that's extra audio is very helpful when learning the different menu setups.
And I think that's the key is turning on that talking menu. So what I would tell people is like right out of the box, make sure that talking menu is turned on, just because it makes it that much easier until you get comfortable knowing what these buttons are.
And it's on by default, so it's going to be on. So they'd have to turn it off if they
Awesome.
if they don't want it on. You can turn that off, but it'll be on by default.
Thanks, Justine. I couldn't remember if it was default or not because I have my Juno sitting here right on my desk, but I forgot what it comes out of the box like. And yeah, so that's great that is. And, and you're not going to use some of these things. Like you're not going to go into the system settings and probably change the time and date frequently. You're not going to change the format of how you're saving files. You're not going to be restoring it. So, there's certain menus that you're not going to go into on a regular basis. And then there's others that you might. And it's also great, like I saw in the chat just now, Kathleen said she just received the Juno, so hasn't had a chance yet to look at it. I'm glad you think it looks amazing. It's such a powerful, feature-rich product. And, it's nice because when you're using that with the individual, or if you're using it for yourself, it's nice to be able to go in and customize and pick and choose. And if you've got a student that's a super button pusher, like I would have been back in, my youth, I'd probably be going through this and pressing all these buttons and testing things out and doing all that. But you can also minimize some of that by focusing on just those buttons on the outside of the unit itself, and maybe making the settings and choosing just certain contrasts and maybe fonts and things like that. And Rebecca said, this is my first time learning about the device. I'm glad, Rebecca, that you're here to join Justine and I today. And I would definitely recommend going and looking at maybe the unboxing video and seeing what you think of that as well, just to kind of get we've done a couple, Justine and I have done a couple different webinars on this product.
Are you guys ready for me to read this poll question?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then we can answer some of the questions that have come into the chat. So I'll go ahead and launch.
Cool. And I'm glad because I knew there were some other poll questions there, and I was hoping, I didn't think I fell asleep at the switch. So, all right.
We were just testing you, Jim. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So in which menu are the reading language and reading voice set up? Is it the menu settings? Is it the reading settings? Is it the user settings? Or is it the system settings? So again, in which menu are the reading language and reading voice setup tools located? Looks like
And to
we've
go
got
back, one question to answer is, I had a student whose camera wouldn't show the picture until after. Is that a lighting setting?
So wouldn't show the picture until after what?
Yeah, Samantha, can you give us more information? What we can also do is if you would like, I can promote you to a panelist and you can speak your question out loud if that's easier. So I'm going to do that right now. And if you'd like to, you can speak your question out loud or type it into the chat.
Yes, that would be much easier for me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
got you.
Loud and clear,
'Cause I'm
Samantha. Yeah.
driving, so I had to like pull over and like type as fast as I could.
All right, please be safe. Yeah.
I pulled over, so but
That was
I couldn't get
good.
the
Good.
whole-
I don't want that on my car.
Pretty much she would take the picture and the screen would be black. We couldn't figure out how to put and so then she would see the picture after she took it. And it was really frustrating for the student.
So
And it would just change all of a sudden because I reset it and it was perfect for a while and then it would do it again.
I'm wondering what that could be, because so you're taking the picture and then normally what happens is then that.
So there's nothing there when she takes the picture, like it's just a black screen. And then after she takes the picture, she can see what she took. But of course, it was really frustrating for her because she can't see what she's taking a picture of.
Yeah, that's definitely abnormal, and that's something maybe wrong with
Okay.
that specific unit, I would say, or something. Justine.
Oh,
you-
okay.
Yeah, so what I would recommend, Samantha, is reaching out either myself or to APH to see we can swap that
Okay.
unit and see if, yeah, because that sounds bizarre. Justine's actually showing right now how it should work when you're taking a photo, and there's that
Yeah.
second, that second there where it might show that little spinning wheel when it's running the OCR.
Okay.
But now, Justine's demoing, looking at a book. So you've got the live view of that. And then when you press that,
Yeah, and
camera,
that would be all black. And then that would happen.
Yeah.
And then she could see what she took.
yeah, so that's definitely something with that unit. So I would say,
Oh, okay. All right.
yeah, I would say reach out to
Well,
us.
now I know how to find the number so I can reach out to APH.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just go right in there to the unit and find the number or whatnot. And and if you have a hard time, you can just drop any of us an email to
Okay.
yeah, I'll put my email in the chat there for everyone, and then I'll just connect you with somebody at APH. But I mean, it's a good resource to have if there's anything you need. If I can type my
Yes.
email address. Yeah, and so now Justine's showing. Thanks, Jim. Just put the APH phone number, which is going to be your best bet. And then Justine's showing the view that I like because this is breaking it down into the zones when you're doing the scanning. So after it takes the photo, is it then doing this?
Yes, I think it still does that.
Okay. Okay. So maybe it's just something. Yeah. Some little.
I honestly, it's been a busy month, so I haven't had a chance to play with it at home. I just know the kid was frustrated with it and she didn't want to use it anymore, which I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she really liked it at first, but
Yeah, that might just be some type of a glitch in that unit. We'll figure it out. But yeah, thank you
Okay.
for that
all
feedback.
right, perfect.
Yeah, and thanks for explaining that further, and thanks for being safe driving.
Yes.
Don't hurt yourself. Yeah. Awesome. So then, next question.
You're reading the
Next
chat.
question, I think, was review where the volume buttons are.
Perfect. So Justine, aka Vanna, if you don't mind reviewing where the volume adjustment would be. So right now, Justine's on the main page. So if you have the Juno on and you're using it, you're going to see basically the screen that you're magnifying, and then the bottom left-hand side, you've got those two arrows facing to the right. You'll press those. That's going to then open up your menu bars, which are on the left and the right-hand side. And the volume button is then in the middle of the left-hand side. And so you're going to tap that twice. And then you've got the bar there on the left-hand side to increase or decrease the volume by dragging that up or down. You've got it. So that is the volume option. So hope that helped with that.
Let's go ahead and wrap up this poll question, and maybe we'll launch another one while we answer some more questions. So I'm going to read out our responses. So in which menu are the reading languages and reading voice set up? 71% said reading settings, 14% said user settings, and 14% said system settings. Mike, what was the correct response?
So this was, in which menu are you reading languages and reading setting up voice? So the reading setup voice, Justine, help me out here because I totally just threw all my notes. Sorry.
No, you're fine. The majority of participants were correct. It's the reading settings is where you're gonna get the languages and the specific voices and languages for the reading of documents. So that's where you'll set up the reading
Thanks,
settings.
Justine. They were paying attention. I wasn't.
All right, we'll move on to our next question. So this is a true or false question. And while you guys are filling this one out, we'll take some more questions.
And I noticed in the chat box, someone will definitely get this one right because they mentioned, so true or false, when spoken menus is on, pressing buttons or icons and menu items will speak the function. Pressing it again will activate the function. Is that true or false? And if you scroll in the chat, you'll see somebody answered that for you already. So a little cheat sheet. And I'm glad that Marsha said, after watching the unboxing video and then watching this, that the student, they'll be flying with the product. So good stuff.
And the newest question that came in is, how do you get the mask for OCR reading besides the box highlight?
Okay. So we can go in and do an OCR and then add the masking. So Justine just opened up something in there that's scanned in already. And when there you go. So you can toggle between, close this chat. You can decide whether it be the exact view, the ticker tape, or the teleprompter mode. And so in exact view, it's going to read it and put a box around it. So right now the image on the screen is showing you an exact view. So you can see that you've got basically the text and there's a box around the text, and then it's going to highlight as it's reading with the box around it. Or if you click on that bottom left-hand button, which pops up your menu, then that allows you to change some of your views in there as well. So now we're on a teleprompter view. The teleprompter view is just going to be all the text extracted out in one lump of text. And Justine's pressing the blue buttons right now on the Juno, which is toggling you between what colors you're adding in there, what color options you have. Now and then that's the box around the text. And you can toggle between the box or the line. And then don't forget, if you're doing the guideline and the masking, that's only going to be on the live view. So when you're actually doing a live view of, something that you've scanned, that you're just magnifying. So to go back to show that, right now we're on live view. We clicked the menu. So it pulls out the menus, those two bottom left-hand side arrows. And then when you do so, the middle button on the right-hand side toggles you between your guideline or your masking. And then don't forget, you can customize the size of all that. And then that's going to allow you to customize. Good stuff. Any other question? I hope that answered the question.
Was
That was
it,
Teresa.
was it how to do how to change the box or the highlighting? Was that what we want? Was that the
Oh yeah, can we
Yeah,
show
the
how to
question was the
change
box
between-
highlight. Yeah.
Yeah, the box or the
Okay.
line.
Yeah, let me see. That's in settings. And you go back to reading you go to reading settings.
That's under reading settings, right? which is
And
under-
the image, yeah, the different viewing modes. So right now I have it on the ticker tape. So that's the live image. And that's the teleprompter. And then you can, the button below the different reading views is use the underline highlight or the box.
And that's the bottom right-hand side, right? Yeah. So it toggles, and that's just going to toggle you between the box or the guideline. And then the button itself changes too. So you'll
So
notice.
once that is selected, if we go back to our file that we are reading, it'll read this text with an underline.
Yeah.
So it's now an underline. So that's how you get the box or the underline in the different reading settings. And then if you want it in live view, that's the line and mask.
Yeah. I think what threw me off was the masking word there. So sorry, Teresa. I wasn't sure what the guideline and masking are on the live view. And then in the OCR reading side, you have the box or the guideline. Or the line, I should say, the text line underneath the text.
Great. Well, let's review this poll question. This one got me for a while. I would often say like, oh no, I'm having trouble doing this. But I'd forgotten this simple solution. So true or false? When spoken menus is on, pressing buttons, icons, and menu items will speak the function. Pressing again will activate the function. 100% said true. And that's correct. I can tell you from experience.
That is correct. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Go, oh, it's because I have the spoken menus on. I need to double press because the first time reads it to me. So I know what I'm selecting and the second time activates it. So good work, everyone. All right. I'm not seeing any more chat questions coming in. Just lots of kudos for the Juno. And a lot of folks who are interested to explore more after this webinar.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future events with Justine. You know, it's fun. And it's a definite feature-rich product. I mean, it has so many different features in there. And it's portable. You know, the kiddos seem to love it. So as it, you know, is out there more and people get to use it a little bit more, because it hasn't really been out in the market for terribly long. So it's exciting.
No, it's the first year of the product is the end of this month. So yeah, so it's been out a year this month of May.
Wow, it's
Yeah,
already
it came
been
out May
out.
2021.
Oh
So
my gosh, I didn't even realize
Yeah.
that it's been since then. But
yeah, so yeah, so our next webinar, I think we'll be going over the camera, the different
Yes.
camera positions. So I'm looking forward to that one for us to do next.
yeah, that'll be nice to go over. And you know, and that's one of the things that's nice with this product is the fact that you do have that flexibility with the camera.
We ready for our ending poll question?
I think we are. We can get
Let's-
those launched and then review the question that just came in the chat.
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So rate your experience navigating through menus to locate settings. Is it still unclear? Do you need practice or have you mastered it? What's your favorite feature? Talking menus, time and date, line and mask, or color themes? And then last, would you like future updates? No, I like the user interface. Or yes, I would like to have updated software. Write in the chat what upgrades you would like? So I guess as those answers are coming in, I guess we'll pivot to the additional question that came in the chat. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there was a question about downloading a book onto the Juno. And we talked a little bit about where you can find some of the files you store on here. So maybe we can look at downloading a book.
Yes, there's a couple different ways. And you know what, let me grab, off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact files but give me a second, I'll find it, that you can download into Juno. But the cool thing is you can actually, here we go, download. Oh, go ahead, Justine.
Oh, I was just gonna let them know is what we're gonna do a whole webinar on this specific topic and do a whole hour and a half of showing you how to OCR, use the OCR and, you know, download documents, multi-page documents, and then we'll do file storage. So how to connect it to the computer, and also with a USB-C thumb drive, and we'll be going through step by step, just like this demo on how to transfer files to and from the Juno from the computer, and you know how to save them, how to get all of your files located and everything with the audio tags, all this fun stuff. We're going to do a whole webinar on that specifically for file manager.
Yeah, which will be really nice, I think, because that's a cool feature in there. You know, not many devices have that capability. Handheld video magnifiers definitely don't. Something as portable as this. And I'm just looking here to see, I always forget the types of files, but you can do it via the USB-C thumb drive, or you can do it via the cord that you have that comes with it.
And all of the steps are also in the handouts for this webinar. That's also on the Juno product page on our APH website. The skills checklist has all of the file types and all of the steps on how to download all your file types and how to OCR. Everything is in that document.
And so what you can do is you can do a text, an RTF, a PDF, or a doc file, DOCX file. Those can be transferred over to the document the document folder. And then for image files, you can do a BMP, a JPEG, a PNG, or a WEBP file, a WebP file. Those can be transferred over to the images folder. And again, you can transfer them via that USB drive or the cable that comes with the Juno. And then once transferred over, they're basically going to be imported into the Juno and be accessible from there. And sorry, it took me a second to find that. You could also find that if everyone was listening. I pulled up the document on my computer just because it was easier for me because my Juno is powered down here. But is there another way, another place? So if you misplaced the paper user manual, is there another spot where you can find it? Anybody know? Type it in the chat.
Is there anything in it for them if they get it right, Mike?
We could do something in it for them. Yeah. If you get it right, and you let's see what I can give. If anybody needs a copy of our JAWS Zoom Text Fusion software, I'll give you a year free of software. How's that?
Man, big stakes, table stakes.
And it did. It got us a response very quickly. Beth says you can get it from the device in the About section.
Oh, awesome. Good call, Beth. Yeah. So Beth, if you have a student or an individual that needs or could benefit from a copy of JAWS Zoom Text Fusion, drop me an email. I'll put my email in the chat. Just drop me an email and we'll take care of, I will take care of getting that for you.
This is just like the Oprah Winfrey show.
Yeah, seriously,
different.
right? I wish I had cars that I could give away.
And you get a copy and you get a copy.
Congratulations, Beth. You're right in that perfect spot, Justine, right now, because Teresa just asked what version is the most recent version of software. And so the app itself is version 2.0.36. The OCR version is 19.20. The text-to-speech version is 20.3.1. And I don't know if that matters after that number 19, but the app version itself is 2.0.36. And we have not had an update to the software of this yet. If you just recently, if you just purchased one recently or whatnot, or you've purchased one even in the last year, it's the same version of software that we've had. So you will be current. But it's good to know.
Did we have any more poll questions in our slides? Or did we get them all?
We just need to get to some pricing, right?
Yeah, let's see what has the last few poll questions. What has anyone answered them? Like, have there been?
We've gotten some
I'd love to hear some of
responses.
those.
Yeah, I'll read through those. Rate your experience navigating through menus to locate settings. 0% of our audience, no one picked still unclear. 89% said they still need practice, and at least one person said that they've mastered it.
Nice.
For what's their favorite feature, pretty well spread out across the board. We have 3 responses each for talking menus and color themes, 2 responses for line and mask, and 1 response for time and date. And finally, would you like future updates? 44% said, no, I like the user interface, and 56% said they would love updated software. What some of the things I saw in here were just any updates would be great. So no specific responses in what they'd like.
And it's always good to, if you have that information, feel free to share it with us moving forward if there's something that you would love, because I have to say APH is phenomenal about, polling audiences and listening to you, the end user, to say, then to us at Vispero to say, hey, this is the features that they want in these products. So it's really helpful to know those things. And we don't always know those, features that you would want. I am glad to see though, some of those, the talking menus, popular feature, that's great. I love the line and masking. I always find that super helpful. And that person that's mastered, whoever that master is there that mastered this, we may be pulling you into the next webinar. Justine and I might say, hey, we're going to sit back and relax with a drink in hand and let you run the show, master.
All right, so let's get to that product page.
All right, so this has got a photo of the Juno on the left-hand side with a person taking a look at the text that's showing a book. And so on the right is the pricing. So we've got a quota price of $1,177. And this is a product with tiered pricing. So the non-quota price would be $1,392. So that would be if, again, a local education agency, a not-for-profit agency, or an agency or individual that was not associated with a specific quota account in a given state would be purchasing it. So it's a couple $100 more. All right, and I think we've got one last slide. I think it's the closing slide. Is that right?
Absolutely. So I do want to give our audience just one more moment. If there's any other questions we can answer before we share with you our closing code today for those of you who are following along for ACV REP credit.
No questions yet?
None that I'm seeing.
Yet,
We can always answer them after the code. Beth says this has been very helpful. Excited to get my hands on one of these.
Oh, thanks, Beth. I'm glad. Justine and I enjoy doing these, and I think it helps just because it is such a feature-rich product. And, again, even at that price, for the power that you get within this, I mean, it's got so many features that no other handhelds really have in them. I mean, yeah. You're welcome, Terry.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. And thanks to Justine and Mike for presenting. Thanks to ACS Captions for their help today.